Once again, we're back. Oh man, it always feels good to get back into the basement and just talk about something else than even the current events of the week. It's always great to do some escapism and get your mind away from whatever problems you're dealing with momentarily, and talk some geek stuff with the boys. So welcome again. It's another episode of Nation80 Podcast with your host Rod. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You nailed that intro. Didn't say the forbidden word.
Yeah, man. I'm fighting. I'm fighting with myself every time. Every time. Oh man. So you know what? Let's get into it because me and Michael have been talking about this forever, and we talk about. You know what? It's funny. I'm not gonna say like we clairvoyant or anything. You can give us that title, but it's funny that we've mentioned time and time again about this, and it's finally happened. And so I'm looking at a report, an article here from Variety that was done earlier this week. Warner Brothers Discovery exploring overhaul of DC Entertainment. Right now, a few things mentioned here in the article. The owners of all things Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment. Multiple sources close to the situation told Variety. It's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Brothers Media, joining one of the largest producers of reality program with one of the most vulnerable entertainment brands under the new moniker of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Zaslav, the CEO of the combined companies, and top leadership have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical. The move would potentially affect DC feature film development in the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, streaming series at Warner Brothers Television, and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have this disparate elements more closely aligned in order to maximize the value of the superhero stable, one often seen as a punching up against Marvel. So, a quick notes that are coming out of that. They want a Kevin Feige-like leader, that DC lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy, that they want to revitalize characters like Superman, and they want more stuff like Joker. Huh. Mike, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because, like you said, we have been talking about this for a while. Just the massive difference between what DC and Warner Brothers are doing and what Disney and Marvel are doing. And I think the one key factor is that Marvel has a guy at the top that is leading the charge and has his vision, whereas DC, you really don't. And not that DC hasn't had, I guess, leaders, just not the right leaders. Like they've had Jeff Johns in there, but I'm not sure having a straight up comic book creator is the way to go. Like you got to have somebody above him to kind of rein in. Like Jeff Johns is an amazing writer and is responsible for some of the greatest DC comics in the last decade. And but it's just not something that this is a whole new level. So you got to have somebody who can rein in all these creators and see what their vision is, and then have your own vision and just go with a singular thing. Because Marvel and Kevin Feige, they're doing they have a singular vision that they want to do, whereas DC started shotgunning stuff all over the place. Like, okay, cool, we're gonna do Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, and then eventually do a Justice League movie. But then here's the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, boom, here is Captain Marvel, boom, like it's just, I don't know. So, or Shazam, so it's just, you're getting all these different DC things here now, and then now you have the Batman, boom. All right, we'll see what goes there. We have the new Suicide Squad, boom. That's it's all over the place. And then you have all their animated stuff, and then their TV series stuff, and there's there's no like clear goal to what's going on. Even Marvel's, Disney Plus TV shows tie into their movie universe, and it serves as a great backdrop to what's going on in the movies and what to expect in the movies. And so I think this is a good thing for DC. I'm glad that it's kind of like the addicts, one of the 12 steps or whatever, like, to admit you have a problem. One of them is to admit you have a problem. DC and Warner Brothers have seemingly admitted, okay, we have a problem. And while the DC movies have done well for Warner Brothers, I believe it said it, it's one of their major, producing branches. The goal of your boy Zaslav is to make it more to make it more efficient, to make it fuller, and to bring out that full potential of DC, because DC has some great stories and great characters. And right now, what we're getting is are movies that are good and movies that are bad and movies that are terrible. There's just not a lot of good movies consistently coming out of DC and Warner Brothers. Whereas in Marvel, we're consistently getting good movies. I mean, if you were to ask anybody what's the worst movie that Marvel has, it might be the first, two Thor movies, and even those weren't really that bad, So, yeah, I think it's good for DC. I think that if they hire the right person, you know, uh, or in it, not even like the person that you had to be like a director or anything like that. Somebody like Kevin Feige. They need a Kevin Feige, somebody who can lead the ship and get all these chefs and corral them and to work together to bring about this great project. Because, like I said, DC's got a lot of great stuff out there, and they can do a lot of great things. Like uh, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. You could do like Darkest Night one or something like that.
Hmm.
I think would be amazing. So, uh, yeah, they just need the right leadership, and I'm glad that they've come to that reality that, hey, yeah, we're not doing well because, and again, it's not like they haven't been doing well. It's just they could be doing better. They could have been doing much better, and hopefully this new direction with Zaslav works out.
Yeah, you know what, Mike? I was thinking about, as you were talking, I was thinking about um WWE and Marvel, right? And the reason I bring them up is because if you look on YouTube, WWE has like 82 million subscribers.
Okay.
And a part of the reason that they have so many is the amount of content that they pump out,
Mm,
right? And I think about all the content that Marvel pumps out on their sites.
hmm
And there seems to be a lack of it from DC. Like, number one, I think they keep DCEU to DCEU and they keep DC to DC. Regardless, like you said, and like the article said, they just don't put enough coinciding content out there. So a lot of the times I don't know what DC has going on until I see a major article about it. But I don't see it, like, for example, I don't follow a lot on my timeline. But for example, like my Instagram other than family has links for Image Comics, Marvel, and DC. If I had told you the amount of Marvel stuff that comes through my feed because Marvel keeps pumping it out consistently to
hmm
let you know what's coming. Now DC shows me some things, but they don't show me nothing anywhere close to it, right? And so I think, like, yes, I agree with you. The movies, just, a cohesiveness with the movies. Like, for example, remember back in the day when they're like, hey, the TV's going to stay the TV and the movie's going to stay the movie. Hey, I'm fine with that if you had kept that same logic the whole time through.
Right.
But you decided to then throw out these little pocket universes of the Joker, the Batman, and and then we haven't seen Superman, right? Like,
Right.
Superman isn't that fucking hard to write, but we haven't seen Superman at all. And there's something wrong with that, right? Like, don't be wrong. I know Batman is the more popular character these days, but you know how anybody would take that Superman property and do some stuff with it. And it just seems like they're just not willing to engage to do those things, right? Like,
hmm
there's like I and then someone can go, well, Superman's a born character. Okay, I would I would push back and say, in my eyes, prior to him hitting the big screen, Captain America was born,
Hmm.
right? And guess what? They made him appealing to the average person,
Hmm.
right? Now, don't get me wrong, he was in World War II. There's a lot of stuff that you can use in Captain America to make him more relatable. I get that part. But you can do something with Superman to make him more relatable, right?
Right.
And they don't even attempt, right? We did the dark Superman who's, doing whatever, right? But we don't get as much as Shazam was very poppy in the sense of it was more wholesome and stuff like that. How come Superman can't be?
Right.
It's like that's his model almost. Is to be the more clean cut guy, and we didn't get that guy basically on the screen, right? But you know, it- that's and then the brain trust thing. I think is a great idea. The thing is, like you said, Jeff Johns is a great writer, but it seems like he was horrible as far as trying to be the brain trust guy, right?
Hmm.
And then I don't know how many hands are truly in the pot, right? Brian Michael Bendis is a part of DC now. I don't know if
Hmm.
he's still a part of the brain trust at Disney for the Marvel movies because he did initially start there. But if he's a part of DC, then you need to have his ass in the room,
Right.
right? Like, the man can write and the man can really help put a world together, and he's done it before. So, utilize that. So, I really hope that they can get it together. Don't get me wrong, I love these little some of these movies that came out. The Joker and the Batman has almost been better than the whole DCEU movie set, right?
Right.
And then the other side of it is I hear people saying, well, let's get Zack Snyder in that room. Let's start over. Like, sorry, let's start over. The Snyderverse is decent, but let's start over. There's other things that have to be done here. It's not just the movies. It's just
R-
the overall picture.
Yeah.
DC needs to do better in terms of getting this stuff out there. If you know what, and then I understand the pressure when Marvel started winning like that at the beginning, but DC should have still slow boated their way through. Like they
Right.
shot their load too early with the Justice League movie. We
Hmm.
didn't need personally. We could have waited a little longer for a Batman v Superman movie until we fleshed out the universe,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
But they did a rush job, and as we can see now, it fell to the ground here, right?
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of missed opportunities.
yep,
You know, a lot of
and
missed opportunities.
and then I mean, as much as we give Sony hell sometimes, Sony rebooted freaking Spider-Man 3 times.
Right.
Like, if they
Yeah.
can
People
reboot,
will forgive you for if DC will reboot because
mhm,
yes, we went through 3 rounds of Spider-Man.
yep. And like at first we're like, okay, Tobey Maguire one is cool and all this other stuff, and then we got the Andrew Garfield, and the first one was cool. I mean, and I would even say the second one was pretty decent, right? I know it had its drawbacks, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. And and then they still were like, well, now that Marvel's taken over, Marvel was like, we're going to reboot again.
Hmm.
And they rebooted again to make things work and to make the universe cohesive. And I'm still not mad at it. So I hope DC finds the direction they want to go. Let people know who these characters are, man, because that's the other side of this, right? um I won't let's say Black Panther, um as popular as a character he's been in the Marvel universe. He's never been at the echelon as the X-Men and a few others,
Right.
right? And they did a phenomenal job of getting you familiar with who he was. That marketing team put him out there. Don't get me wrong, the hype for the African American community put him out there, right? And between all of that, that made it work. But you're not doing it. Cyborg should be on a freaking cereal box right now
Right.
because people been wanting to see him, but of course y'all screwed that up, right? And so now you have, I think there's Naomi right now, Static Shock. Why aren't you doing something with him? He's under the DC umbrella. Like, would be the perfect time to reboot the cartoon.
Right.
You know, something to get people interested. But yeah, DC's got a long way to go in regards to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that you hit it on all points. I mean, I guess the big key is consistency, like you said. Let's just have some kind of consistency. I really felt like they dropped the ball on Superman. They could have fleshed that story out some more, and I see that their big focus is to do something with Superman, and I just don't know how they're going to do that. Like, it's because you just came out with the Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to stay separate, or because if you're going to redo everything, you got to, and if you're going to include the Batman movie in there, you kind of got to redo everybody. Like, you're not going to introduce a younger Batman to this older Justice League squad. So, are we doing a new 52 reboot here? Are we rebooting and bringing in a younger Superman, a younger Wonder Woman? I don't know what they're going to do, and I would love to see more Batman movies, because that one was just phenomenal. And if they could replicate that and make a bigger story out of that, that would be amazing. I don't really have hopes that they will, just because of DC and Warner Brothers, but they've already have spinoff TV shows that are getting ready to come out. So, what are they going to do? How are they going to reboot this? And it all sounds great, but like you said, you got to have the right brain trust. Okay, you got to have the right thinkers, the right doers to mold and come up with a single. Let's just start simple. Start with a single storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Marvel, their first storyline was the Infinity Stones and the oncoming war. It was a long buildup of who's getting these Infinity Stones and who has them, and who's this mysterious character in the background trying to collect all these Infinity Stones, and what does that mean? Whereas in DC, like you said, they shot their load too fast. And, all of a sudden we have a Zack Snyder movie, and not even Zack Snyder, we have a Joss Whedon Justice League movie that was abysmal, that didn't even have Darkseid in it. And it had his, lesser known cousin that nobody knew about, except the true comic book, fans out there. And then we had to wait years just to get a Snyder cut from Zack Snyder, and we finally get a Darkseid, and it finally makes more sense. But even then, it still felt rushed, and there was no buildup. We didn't have any buildup to that final Justice League movie. They should have fleshed that out much more, and then of course the inner struggles, with Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers, and just kind of destroyed everything. Then Joss Whedon and his issues, and so yeah,
and that's the problem, man. That's the thing, right? Like, and I remember Zack Snyder had a personal situation, so he had to leave. But man, Joss Whedon really destroyed that movie. Like, like oh my goodness. Just
part of me wonders, did he do it on purpose? Because he built something great with the Avengers, and then DC approached him as, hey man, we want you to do Justice League. Yeah, I'll do Justice League for you guys. And Kevin Feige, he's looking over at Kevin Feige, and Feige's giving him the nod, like, do your thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my god, this was a terrible Justice League movie. And secretly, Kevin Feige's in the background going, yes, I've dealt the death blow to Warner Brothers. They'll never catch up now.
That's crazy, but you know what? The more that you say it, the more I can believe something like that. Well, I could go with conspiracy theory ride, but that wouldn't be surprising if something like that happened, because it's kind of crazy, just the fact that they just missed the mark so much. I can understand if you have a slip, right? Like you said, Thor 1 and Thor 2 weren't the greatest, but they were able to rebound and turn Thor 3 into something good. And then, Thor Love and Thunder seems to have a lot of hype built up around it.
Hmm.
I'll be the first one to tell you the first Captain Marvel movie was so, but I think whatever missteps that you see from the first Captain Marvel movie, they'll rebound and do their best to work harder to make sure that the next one's a bit more better, however they do it, right? I mean, these movies have been going on forever, but somehow it builds up, it generates enough casual interest for you to really enjoy these movies, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and that's the thing. Like, you might like Winter Soldier, but you might not like First Avenger. But you almost still can guarantee you at least have 800 million coming, right?
Right.
Like, you can almost guarantee that 800 million are going to watch it before it leaves theaters, and
Yeah.
then you gain your other billion by time you leave. By time you put it out for video.
Right.
So, and that's for worst case scenario, right? But then the larger ones, you see how they get down. They just print out money, and so yeah, it's gonna be just interesting because I'm hoping the best because I want to, casually get a DC movie, right? Um, but then I will also say this: I'm wondering about, like, for example, like, I like Robert Pattinson in the Batman,
Hmm.
but whatever they decide to do moving forward, whether they keep the same people or they just reboot, you need to set them up and say, hey, like, look, this is going to be the first, the last thing you're doing at the moment, right? Because that's the other side of that we don't think about, right? Like, a majority of those guys who did Marvel movies did not do another film.
Right.
They were, and when I say that, maybe a little cameo work, but they weren't really spearheading many other projects, right? Only other person I could think of was my man who played Thor, maybe Scarlett Johansson in one or two. But my
Well,
man who,
I was gonna say my exception would have really been Robert Downey Jr.
yep,
because he did the Sherlock movies.
yeah, he sure
Um,
did.
but other than that, like Hemsworth, you can say more cameos than not. And then yeah, Scarlett Johansson's a constant A-lister who does whatever, but I don't even
Mhm.
think she even really came up with that many big projects.
Yeah,
I think the only person that really had big projects was really Robert Downey Jr. But you didn't hear anything from Chris Evans and
I can throw
Hemsworth
Chris
and
Pratt in there too. He did quite a few. Him and what's the leading lady in the same who plays Gamora?
oh yeah, Zoe
Yeah,
Saldana.
Zoe. They both point blank. Their workload was limited because Marvel came first, second, and third,
Right. Yeah.
right? And I think whatever DC decides to do, those people need to be first, second, and third for DC, right? Pay them well. Tell them, hey, the next 5 years, you'll be compensated, but we need to try to get this thing in shape. And then give it to some people who really love it. And you go back and you hear Ben Affleck talk. He hated it, right?
Right.
So give it to some people who are really going to enjoy the job, right? I understand it's going to have its harder moments, but get them out to comic conventions now that COVID's starting to die down. Let people see these folks, you know, because otherwise you're going to have a hard time if you try to. Because Ben Affleck wasn't about going to a convention,
Right.
you know, that wasn't his thing. I remember back in the day. Matter of fact, the only person I could give props for is my boy who played Aquaman.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Momoa. Yeah,
No,
Jason
Momoa.
Momoa.
The reason why Jason Momoa, don't get me wrong, he was in Game of Thrones as well. And, his history with sci-fi movies. But Jason Momoa was like at every convention before Aquaman came out.
Hmm.
And, he's a lovable, personable guy, right? And funny enough, Ezra Miller should have been that until we found out he was batshit crazy, right?
Right.
you know, because Ezra Miller came off at the beginning sounding like, oh, he could be pretty cool, and he was at every convention. But as you can see, two stark differences,
Yeah.
right? Jason
Yeah.
Momoa came out there and he was like, hey, and he made you feel the love, right? And hey, man, I know, I get it. I get it. You got to play the game sometimes. You have to. You have to. These are people who can help fund um that can help fund your future however you want to see fit,
Hmm.
right? But you gotta, you gotta appease them. And even if some of them guys did not like Jason Momoa as Aquaman, we know that. But Jason Momoa is so impersonable that you're still gonna put your ass in the seat and go, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll see what it's about. You know, I think Michael's mentioned it, like, hey, he's not too fond of Aquaman 1, and so he probably won't go to theaters to see Aquaman 2, but guess what? He'll watch it at home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's still getting somebody to watch the movie, you know?
Yeah, I
And
think you bring up a good point. I mean, when was the last time you heard of Marvel having all these issues with their actors,
mm,
or, you know, getting into legal trouble or not enjoying their time on the movie set? Like,
mhm,
you know, you've never heard them, maybe the Scarlett Johansson issue with the releasing of the movie
mhm,
digitally instead of in theaters, but that was circumstance of what was going on in the world or is going on in the world, right?
yeah, and it's
um
understandable depending on your contract situation of how
right.
you hoping to get your money on the back end or whatever.
But never
So,
once did she say she was like, oh, I had a horrible time on set, and oh, I
mhm,
hate playing Black Widow. Like, you never hear these guys. In fact, you more often than not, you hear them like, this is the greatest thing that I've done, and I really enjoyed, I think there's a way that Kevin and Disney and Marvel cast that's starkly different from how DC does it. Don't
mhm,
get me wrong. I think Momoa is great for Aquaman. I actually loved Henry Cavill as Superman.
so did I.
Um, and I loved Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Mhm,
But I did not like Ben Affleck as Batman.
mm,
Even if it was an older Batman. And interestingly enough, I found out that Josh Brolin was actually in competition for that role, to be Batman. And so I was like, ooh, I could have seen that. That would have been, I could have believed an older, more mature,
you've been hella grizzled.
grizzled Batman
Yeah,
than Ben Affleck.
yeah,
I could have bought into that. But I just think the way that they've casted or chose actors, I mean, the amount of actors that you've gotten out of uh, the Marvel side of things, and
mhm,
then actors that you're bringing back into the fold that had nothing to do with the MCU.
mhm,
Like you're bringing Patrick Stewart back into the fold, you're bringing Tobey Maguire back into the fold, and Andrew Garfield back into the fold, and who knows who else is coming back in. Um, we may even
yeah.
get a version of Blade with Wesley Snipes in this multiverse. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Hey, man,
You
we might
know,
even see Hugh Jackman show up at this
we
point.
exactly, and I don't think that could have happened because certainly DC has their own multiverse.
Yeah,
It's not infinite like Marvel, but uh, I don't know if you would be able to bring in, Christopher Nolan's, Batman. I don't know if you would be able to bring in all the many different iterations of some of the other Supermans or any of the other DC characters that have been out there in whatever movies that have been out there. And so, it just, there were, and of course, they had and I don't know how true it is or not, but Michael Keaton coming back to maybe reprise his role as Batman, but not the Tim Burton Batman, but possibly the Thomas Wayne Batman.
mhm,
Um, so maybe there's that, but uh, I just think that there's a magic ingredient with Marvel, and DC and Warner Brothers have been trying to copy that recipe, and they've had success. I mean, people have obviously gone to watch the movies, but they're missing that magic ingredient that
mhm.
is taking them to that next level, that next level of movies that really make them memorable for you. Because when I think about it, like, I don't know if there's a memorable movie on the DC side that I'm just like, oh my god, like you said, Captain America. Nobody
Mhm.
gave two craps about Captain America before the movies came out. I know I certainly did it, but I've told you multiple times. I think some of the best Marvel movies out there are the Captain America movies.
Mhm.
And whatever they did to draw me in, I can't name one specific thing, but whatever magic ingredient they used for Captain America made me care for his movies.
Mhm.
I can't say that about the DC movies. Until the Batman, of course. The Batman by far has been the best DC movie that has come out.
I
Uh,
agree. You know what's funny is it's funny you say that because I was as you were thinking of that, I was thinking of the most memorable DC movie. And for me, at least, let me change this after the Nolan movies, right? Because there is there's a pocket in me for the Batman Nolan movies that I
yeah,
love them,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
But like Man of Steel comes to mind, but it comes in pockets, right? The fight scene when he first meets General Zod, I can watch that for hours because I
Right.
thought it was just dope watching Superman fight someone
Hmm.
as superpowered as him.
Hmm.
But if you ask if I watched the whole movie, no, I don't. Just because there's some parts in there that just don't do it for me.
Right.
But then the Batman, like you said, is the best one, which comes out as we record this is Sunday, Easter Sunday. The Batman comes out tomorrow. I will be watching it again
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
I gotta watch it again. I
That's one of
love
those
that movie.
movies that I don't know about you, but like me, I'm starting to get into or learning about cinematography and filmmaking, and I'm
Hmm.
always listening to people talk about, watch whatever your favorite movie is and study it. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Hmm.
And after watching Batman, that's a movie I would like to study. Like, I want to know every behind the scenes, the deleted scenes, why they shot it this way and how they shot it this way. And
Yeah.
I think that to me, the movie was just amazing. It wasn't amazing just for the action, just because Batman was in it. The story was amazing, the writing, the casting, the acting, everything about that movie. You talk about like in sports, like say football, you
Hmm.
got to win on all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams.
Hmm.
And I think that's what you got for movies. And I felt like the Batman hit it on all three phases, and um, that one. And before the Batman, maybe like I really did enjoy the first Superman movie,
Hmm.
um, but I think maybe after that. Uh, I think maybe after that, the first Wonder Woman movie.
Hmm.
But even that wasn't even, you know, I'm not pining to watch Wonder Woman all the time. I'm not
Hmm.
pining to watch Superman all the time. But the Batman, even though it's a 3 hour movie, yeah, I'll watch that again.
Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, all in all, I really hope DC puts these characters on the forefront like they deserve. I really hope in whatever their master plan is, please take those milestone characters and bring them up. I think a couple of them would really shock you if given a bit more traction than what they're getting, especially Static Shock. Like he should literally be you guys, Miles Morales, right about now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think you guys are dropping the bag on that terribly. Um, and I just hope that that you all put some cohesion together. I'm rooting for DC. I always am. I just feel like they just don't. They just think if we throw this high priced person in there, they'll make it work. And I think if there's anything that's come out of all of this is that if you don't have someone who understands the comics, the books, and is passionate about it, you're not going to get it right.
Right.
You see the love coming out, out of the gills from Marvel in a lot of different ways,
Hmm.
and you don't see that for a lot of DC movies. It's like, hey, the way I look at it is Marvel movies, don't get me wrong, the early ones had to try to accommodate the casuals to get them to their seats. But now that people are getting more invested in everything that's going on, they can almost say true to storylines. Of course, they do some alterations. Like I'm literally looking at comicbook.com while I'm making this podcast, and they were showing a version of Yondu, with the big old fin on top of his head, right? And then you look at him in Guardians of the Galaxy, they had to retool him, right, to make him different, and it
Hmm.
worked. People still loved Yondu, right? I'm sure there's that one person, Yondu's my favorite character. How could they do this to him? But still, You know, they brought Yondu to the big screen,
Hmm.
right? And so, like, think about it. Doctor Strange is about 2-3 weeks away. We got American Chavez coming,
Yep.
right? Same thing. There's someone, they're always introducing someone or something that, that for these generational people, because I don't know much about America Chavez, but for these generational books, they point and go, oh crap, is that what I think it is? Right? And you're already hype, right?
Right. I never would have thought they would have brought American Chavez into it because
Exactly.
she's never been, uh, other than her first volume of comics. In fact, I
Hmm.
think they canceled her line after the
Hmm.
first volume
Hmm.
because it just wasn't selling, and she's been a background character relegated to certain Avengers teams depending on what universe she's in.
Yeah.
And so I never would have thought she would be a person. I mean, I don't think people thought the Guardians of Galaxy would have ever showed up because nobody. I mean, I didn't know shit about Guardians of the Galaxy
Same.
when they came out. Um, and so now you're bringing in America Chavez and some of these other characters. Even Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. I didn't think they'd bring her in.
Hmm.
And so seeing her come to the big screen and seeing that she has a TV show coming out gives me hope that I'm going to see a live action Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And so I think it's great, and the fact that, like you said, Marvel is doing these things, whereas DC isn't. That DC's just relying on DC's main, like the big three. Okay,
Hmm.
you're just relying on the big three, and then you got Aquaman and Shazam, and now The Rock has uh
Black Adam.
Black Adam, you know. Okay, but there's so much more, like you said, where is Static Shock? If and for that matter, where are the Green Lanterns? You know?
Good point.
Um
I know
if
the movie was terrible, but man, if you got rid of Hal Jordan and you put, you
Yeah, you
know,
you could put John Stewart in, and it would be
yeah,
fine,
yeah,
because John Stewart, whole reason John Stewart was created was because the original Green Lantern was too boring,
yeah,
and so even if that didn't work, you could still bring. There are so many Green Lanterns, Kyle Rayner and some of these other
hmm,
cats that you could bring in and reboot it again. Okay, John Stewart didn't work out. Let's bring in Kyle Rayner, see if people like that. Um, so I think there's a whole DC has the content. They have the content. Uh, I was excited for, or I should say excited. I was pleasantly surprised with John Cena's Peacemaker TV show.
hmm.
Uh, I'm not sure where you go from that as far as like movies. Uh, because at the end of the TV show, you had that brief cameo with Aquaman and the Flash, and then like a CG, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Um, but I don't know where you go, past that. I loved Peacemaker and John Cena and the evolution of that person throughout the series. So, yeah, I think it's time they look into bringing newer characters, newer teams into the mix. I mean,
Hey man,
uh,
you know what? Actually, as I sit here and I think about it, why haven't they done a Teen Titans live action?
exactly.
Because
Why
I
is
mean,
yeah?
just
Why is Darkwing, or not Darkwing, but uh, you know, uh,
Nightwing.
Nightwing? Why out of anything, Teen Titans won, but why have we not gotten a Nightwing movie?
Because I'm thinking about it, right? Like the kids, if there's anything the kids already know, and it should be an easy play, they know Teen Titans. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
us as adults, we grew up on the Teen Titans TV show, and you have Teen Titans Go, which a lot of the kids loved, right? So why in the world haven't you taken the opportunity? And you don't even have to, and then here's the thing, you don't have to make it crazy serious. It could be lighthearted. It could have I'm using on them only as an example because I know the movies weren't that great. Uh, you can almost make them like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie,
Right.
right? Where there's a bit of seriousness, but there's also, a matter of fact, I'm sorry, let's use freaking Guardians of the Galaxy. It's serious in tone. I mean, it has its serious moments, but it's still comedic,
Right.
right? And you could literally do that if you did that with the Teen Titans, right? You and then everyone knows Slade, who is freaking
Uh,
uh jeez.
Deathstrike.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And so and you already have one, right? So it's like you can use these things and already go for it. But what do I know? I'm just a guy who watches way too much television and decides to talk about it on a microphone.
Deathstroke, not Deathstrike. Deathstroke.
Deathstroke. Yep,
Uh,
Deathstroke.
yeah, no,
I'm
I
forgetting
I
those.
completely agree. I mean, I think you could make a Teen Titans movie, not like the Titans TV show, which is overly dark and violent.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but you can pull from that. And really, I mean, you could pull from any of the characters in the Young Justice show, right? Which it would include Static Shock and some of these other cats,
Hmm.
instead of making a new Superman movie, make a Superboy movie.
Yep.
That would be interesting. Yeah, they've got DC has obviously the IPs that can lend to a big universe. I just question whether or not DC has the patience for it, whereas
Hmm.
Marvel clearly did. I mean, Marvel's been putting out movies for the last what feels like the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's the groundwork that probably scares DC. It's like, oh my God. But if they really do the build up, this will work just fine.
yeah, I'm trying to think, you know, uh when I think the first Marvel movie was Iron Man, right? Um
First Marvel movie that's a part of the MCU.
yeah, I think that was Iron Man.
I will say it's a stretch that it's Hulk number 2. Just because of the ending. Oh, no, 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 no. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, so yeah,
It's
it should be Iron Man
Iron,
because yeah, he
Iron
was
Man, and then
Venom.
there was a Hulk movie where
Right,
they said something real quick, and then
right, because he shows up in the Hulk movie
yep,
at
yep,
the
yep.
end.
Hmm.
So that was in 2008.
Hmm.
Okay,
Almost 20
so
years.
not quite 20 years. All
Hmm.
right, but does DC and Warner Brothers, do they have the patience? I mean, you don't have to lay out a 12, 14, 16 year plan.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe start out with maybe a 10-year plan.
Hmm.
Okay, you know, because otherwise, if you do anything shorter than that, then we're just getting another, you know, uh, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and then another Justice League movie within 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I think if you stretch it out to maybe 10, you at least try out like a first phase. Marvel likes to do phases. I think that was a great idea. Okay, here's phase 1 movies that we got coming out. Okay, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, big ending, done. Boom, we're done with that story.
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah, I think that I hope that DC and Warner Brothers have um, some patience,
Hmm.
but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I agree. So it's one of them things where it's like, look, um, can you just do what we ask you? You, come on, just listen to your fans one time, please.
Right, for
This is
real.
one of those times. One of those times. Well, Mike, I know we spent literally 40 minutes talking about DC. So just to be those guys, we got to talk a little bit of Marvel. And I just saw this as we were talking. But apparently, the news just came that the Hawkeye series is going to stay a limited series. We're not going to get a season 2, and they're going to probably move on from that and keep on. Who knows what we're going to do as far as when it comes to our new Hawkeye. I'm sure she'll show up in the movies one way or another. And I'm pretty sure this is Jeremy Renner's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think that was kind of I looked at Hawkeye as more of here's an introduction to Kate Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I had read before where Jeremy Renner is going to be taking more of a backseat role, like to grandfather everybody into this new Avengers team.
Mm.
And so I guess what I'm envisioning now is that just like in the comics, you have this team of young Avengers that includes Kate Bishop, that includes Miss Marvel, that includes Miles Morales, and there's even Amadeus Cho Hulk in that squad. So it feels like they're forming a new team. They've already introduced Kate Bishop. We know we're getting Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And so who else are we gonna get? Because we've already got our big hitters. Okay, we've got Captain Marvel, we've got Spectrum, we've got we still have Hulk and She-Hulk, and so we've got those big hitters, Doctor Strange, and then Wanda Maximoff, and that doesn't even include bringing in the X-Men, bringing in the Fantastic Four. So I think we're starting to see this transition of moving away from what we knew from the first storyline, and we're introducing all these new characters in. So I imagine Captain Marvel, she'll be the person at the top. She'll be like the Captain America, basically. And then you're gonna have She-Hulk in there, and then you're gonna have some of your older big hitters in there. And then you're gonna have this younger Avengers team that's led by Kate Bishop and by Miss Marvel, and I believe they'll be bringing in Miles Morales' Spider-Man, and so which I I find interesting because I think if they bring Miles Morales Spider-Man in, I think they kill off Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Mm.
Only because that's how it happened in the Ultimate Universe,
Mm-hmm.
and I can kind of envision that happening in this. But yeah, but I digress. So yes, Kate Bishop and Clint not having another season, I'm fine with it. I think that it was a good introduction, and I'm excited to see what other movies she's going to be in. There's Marvel's got so much coming out. I have no idea what she's going to be in. So, and she may even pop up in some of the other TV shows like Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. We'll see.
You know what though? I'll be the first to say, like, look, what do you expect from movie stars? Because it's like, don't get it twisted. Just because this is TV, that you're going to keep on getting seasons with these people who do mostly movies, right? Jeremy Renner does mostly movies. My man who plays Sam Wilson does mostly movies. Sebastian Stan does movies. Even Loki does movies. Well, and so the expectation that they're going to continue to want to do, and then here's the thing, think about it, right? You do a movie, you spend 1 to 3 months on set, and then you're done, and then you can take some time off, and then for like 2 weeks, a month, and then you can move on to the next movie. Whereas with a TV show, that's a grind. That's 6 months, maybe 4 months, depending on the situation. And mind you, with a movie, you get paid one time up front, unless you're getting money off the back end when the movie comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason why, as much as people don't really care for the newer iteration of Eddie Murphy movies, Eddie Murphy's made it clear, it's like, hey man, I go in, I get paid, I leave, right? I'm not mad at that at all, right? But these guys are not going to work a schedule like they do for the Flash TV show, right?
Right.
They're just not going to. You're going to only get 6 to 8 episodes, and you probably won't get another season depending on their schedule, right? Like we forget that, but they're doing other things other than Marvel, right? So they don't have to sit there and do all that stuff. And then why do too much? I can understand it's a limited series. I can live with it. You know, if you start asking for seasons of like Hawkeye, I think that you don't like Hawkeye anymore, right? If you did seasons of WandaVision, I think it would get old as well. And then by the time the movie comes out, who wants to see the movie? You do more than enough to keep the interest alive. And then, you know, like for example, WandaVision might not have been the greatest television in the world, but it was pretty good. And now, guess what? You know, now that Doctor Strange is coming out, you're looking at Wanda a whole lot differently now. It's like perfect, right? Because you're like, oh, well, I saw what she did in the TV show. Oh, she's on that bullshit. She's about to go. And, you know, and they built up that anticipation. Because the first thing you go with is like, because, you know, people wanted another season, not coming. And then, like, well, when am I going to see Wanda again? Well, now that question's been answered, you know? So, yeah, I'm cool with it too. I don't have any issues with it, and I don't know how much we expect these people to work, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe people just got too used to, maybe because of the pandemic, we got used to seeing big actors on the small screen, whether it's Marvel or some other, you know, platform.
Yeah.
And we're just used to seeing that. You know, these TV shows that Disney's been putting out have always been marketed as limited series.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, they're just a stopgap to say, hey, look, this is what's happening with this character before we jump into the next round of movies. So like I said, WandaVision was an important show to see what Wanda and Vision are up to, and to give it more volume. Like you said, you know, now you're going to look at Wanda differently when this Doctor Strange movie comes out, because now you see it'd be hard to go from Endgame to Doctor Strange 2 and understand why Wanda is the way she is, you know, and try to fit that into the movie. That movie would be ridiculously long. But now that you've seen the show, now you understand her struggles. Now you understand, hey, this is what she's gone through. This is what she's lost. And so it segues nicely. And not only that, you're also able to introduce Monica Rambeau and her character and tease what her involvement is going to be within the MCU, whether it's through Secret Wars and whether it's through the Marvels movie. And so you have that. Then, you know, Captain or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, again, was a limited series. You know, that was more, I mean, that could have been its own separate movie, but it served to show what happened to Sam and the Winter Soldier after Endgame. And then you introduced a new character and a new element of, or possibility of a Dark Avengers team. And so, okay, great. And that's how it's been. You know, Loki, to my knowledge, is the only one that's getting a second season. And so, and even then, I don't even know if you would expect a third season after that, because the whole point of the Loki series was to not only introduce, I guess, the main, I don't even want to say the main antagonist, but one of the main antagonists for the movies, but to also show, you know, we got hints of the multiverse in the last few movies within the MCU. That full blown went out and explored that aspect of it in the Loki show. And now that we're going to have Doctor Strange, we're going to see more of that, I think, with Loki, and trying to figure out it. And I think Loki serves as this is what the multiverse is, and this is how we're going to help explain the multiverse to our viewers when we start getting into the movies. Okay, because you have Loki and then you have Marvel's What If. And those two serve as this is what the multiverse is, and these are the consequences that are happening, and this is what's out there. And it's all going to tie into the movies. Okay? Yeah. And so I think we're going to have the same thing for Miss Marvel. I think Miss Marvel is going to be an introduction to, obviously, her character. and then we're going to see something where they're going to pop in either another character or another aspect of the movies that we're going to start to think about. And I thought they were going to bring in the Inhumans, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But I feel like they're going to bring in another aspect or another character that's going to make you think, oh, okay, this is going to tie into the movies. And I don't necessarily know if there's going to be a second Miss Marvel season.
You know what's funny? You mentioned Inhumans, because man, how quickly did they sweep that away?
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we know it was bad, but my goodness, how quickly did they sweep that away? That trash of a television series, like
Yeah.
like no one thinks about it, right? And we don't even go like it was so bad that it could be like shown as one of Marvel's worst ideals, but we never see it, right?
Well, what's funny is I had been watching a video a while ago about this, at least as far as the comics go. We knew the TV show was a failure, but um, the comics was the same way because the Inhumans were introduced as a substitute for mutants, and you had all
Yeah,
these Inhumans across the planet, and because this was after House of M, and Wanda said her famous "No more mutants," and there was only like 118 mutants left on the planet. Um, I can't remember what the exact number is, but and then you had this explosion of Inhumans, and Kamala Khan ended up being one of them. But Marvel quickly got to a point where they're like, nope, nope, Inhumans aren't working out, and so they had
hmm
Inhumans versus the X-Men, and the Inhumans ended up losing out. And one of the few characters that people really cared about was Miss Marvel and Kamala Khan. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, cool, they're bringing in the Inhumans. We'll see what this is all about. But then when you see how she has her powers or how she got her powers, you're like, oh, nope, she's not an Inhuman. She's wearing some kind of power bracelet. So,
hmm
uh, yeah, so yeah, they just somebody probably said, hey, Kevin Feige, do you want to use Inhumans? Hell no.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's one of them things where I'm again, we say this all the time, but it's the truth. I'm interested to see what the future holds, man. My dreams have been met already seeing Iron Man on screen.
Oh, really?
Seeing a lot of these DC characters as well. There's always room for improvement, and that's why I critique. But I'm always going to watch it. I'm always going to check it out. I still just want to I want to see it do well on the silver screen. Even though we didn't talk about it, Joe Casey, who is the writer or the creator of America Chavez, mentioned earlier this week that they offer him a pittance for the fact that he created America Chavez. That's something I want that needs to be fixed. As much money as Marvel's make off those characters, and we see this story time and time again when these blockbusters come out. If you're making a billion and a half off of something, come on, you ain't got to pay the creator $1 billion, but you got to give him some sort of compensation for
Hmm.
the fact that the blood, sweat, and tears, anxiety, the loss of time with family, do
Having to deal with
something.
the fans.
Absolutely. This goes from your Miles Morales to your uh I don't know how Stan Lee and Jack Kirby have been compensated through this time. The Jack Kirby estate, well, both of their estates, right? Now, don't be wrong, Stan Lee probably got his, but Jack Kirby, I hope his estate has been taken care of because there's a backbone of this, right? But now we get to the point we have all these new characters coming out. I hope they're getting compensated as well because it makes no sense that there's very few times that a movie studio has produced their own character and we felt a type of way for it. Superhero,
Hmm.
let's say that, right? Because there's a Pixar movie and Woody and Buzz, and we gravitated towards that. But you know, the ones that are these action movies that are coming out now, there's very few that, have the same gravity like they used to. But so I hope that gets resolved, you know. But we'll see how that goes. Mike, do you have anything else? Because I hear the patter of feet to inform me that my children are awake and they'll be down here in no time.
Yeah, I can hear mine crying from upstairs. So I had put out an episode uh last week. It was meant to come out, while we were on vacation. Uh,
Hmm.
but one of the things in the episode was talking about the Ninja Turtles video game that's
Oh
coming out,
yes.
the remaster of some of the all-time classics. So I think it's 13 titles all in one, and most of them, for the most part, are it, basically four the same, just for different
Hmm.
systems. So there's variation between them, but to be able to get the arcade version of Ninja Turtles, whether it be on the Switch, the PC, Xbox, PlayStation, is going to be phenomenal. So there has not been a street date set yet, but once that date comes out, be sure to check that game out. And then eventually this year, we are getting a brand new Ninja Turtles game in the same style or fashion as the arcade version. So I'm excited for that one. In fact, the creators are the people that did Streets of Rage 4. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do for this new Ninja Turtles game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited as well. That Ninja Turtle game has been hot on my mind, and like I saw your video, and like it just brings back the old school vibe of us at the arcade.
Hmm.
When all four of us, we have a cousin named Damon, and all of us would link up for the summer. And when we had the opportunity to go to the arcade, we would all play, of course, our own particular Ninja Turtle. Me
Hmm.
being Donatello, I think Brandon was Leonardo.
Yep.
Uh, Michael was, of course, Michelangelo,
Hmm.
and then Damon being Raphael,
Yep.
And then the same thing for, we used to do it for the X-Men. We used to do it for any four-player game, right? X-Men was a little different because I think there was way more than four characters,
Right.
right? So you could pick whoever you want to. And then you had the Simpsons, you had all that stuff. So it's cool to see this stuff get re-released and, buy it legally, see,
Yeah, for
because
real. That'll be one of the games I pick up an actual hard copy for.
yeah, man.
Because
Yeah.
I have a lot of digital games, uh,
Hmm.
but that would be one that I would actually get a physical copy for, because I think that's just a must have
Hmm.
to own on whatever game system that you may or may not have. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then um, I'm also gonna have, hopefully this week I'll post it. There'll be a video on it for the Nintendo Switch owners out there, on games that are more, pick up and play games that you don't have to get too
Hmm.
involved into. Uh, and because if you're like me and you're always on the go and you're at work, you don't have a lot of time to play at home. These are games that you can pick up and play for 15 or 20 minutes at a time, and just have a lot of fun doing.
Yeah, that'd be dope. And so, real quick, just our last thing, let's give a quick update. Still no Steam Deck email yet, but we're
Oh,
hopeful.
sigh.
Yeah, we're hoping it's coming soon. We got until June for second quarter, so I would assume because Michael ordered his way before I ordered mine. So I would see Michael. I'm hoping Michael gets his soon, and then I'm hopefully a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, up behind him. So we'll see where we go from there. But we'll keep you updated because we can't wait to get our hands on it. But we're gonna go ahead and end it here before our kids drive our significant others crazy. So just like always, keep your imagination up. This has been another episode of the Nation 80 Podcast. Tune in next week when we'll talk about more. See you later.